Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gollum's Gamers, where today we are going to be doing a little bit of a different episode here on the channel. It's only myself and Ashley here today, and we're going to be discussing the Battle of Unnumbered Tiers, yes, which is a 1,000-point GBHL 100 event. It's being held in Sutton in Ashfield later this year on the 19th and 20th of October. Now, as always, you can find us on Instagram and Spotify by following those links in the description down below. Now, you may be thinking, as I'm sure Ashley is as well, why on earth are we covering this event so long in advance? As usually our regular event preview episodes that we do go up like a few days before the actual event. But the reason why we are discussing this event, as you may have seen by the title or the thumbnail, is that in this video, we are going to be giving away a ticket to this event, which is very, very exciting indeed. Courtesy of the lovely TOs running the event. So big shout out to Ed Ball and Owen Wright for offering this ticket to one of our viewers. It's a pretty lemon sort of gesture, isn't it, Ashley?
It's a high value prize. I would say, a cash value £50 ticket is a very great giveaway. I would say so. Definitely get involved and try and win that ticket.
Yes, yeah. So we'll be running through how you can actually enter to win the ticket at the end of the episode, which will be timestamped in the description. So if you didn't want to skip ahead, you can do that. And it's also worth mentioning at this point that our very good friends over at Any Heroics are also doing a giveaway for this event on their channel. I'm not too sure when their video is will actually be going live on their channel, but I'll leave a link to it in the description once it does. But we are going to start off by discussing the tournament.
So, the Battle of Unnumbered Tiers is a 1,000 point, as Elliot mentioned earlier, GBHL 100 event. It is very, very unique this year, as they are only playing 12 of the scenarios. They're not going to be playing Command the Battlefield, Seize the Prize, Recon, Capture and Control, Contest of Champions, and a Clash by Moonlight. So probably ruling out Command the Battlefield, Seize and Recon. Capture and Control, maybe 4 scenarios that you probably want marching, usually going into an event. So that's something to bear in mind.
Yes, and that's one from each pool in the match play guide. So he's taken away, I guess, the one he likes the least from each pool, and then the 12 remaining scenarios are just put into one big pool, which will be randomly rolled for the 6 games. So
something to note that at 1,000 points, sometimes you might play the games on larger tables. However, at Unnumbered Tiers, the 1,000 points will still be on 4-foot by 4-foot tables. Interestingly enough, contest not being in the mix allows people to take, those Galadriels, those Gandalfs, those may be more defensive support heroes that you wouldn't usually see. And as we'll touch upon probably very soon, those support heroes could become a lot more beast with some of the extra special rules that could occur.
We will get there. The next thing to probably mention, just a small thing, is that lists must have at least 5 models and no more than 100 models. So no Goblin Town insanity spam or something at 1,000 points.
Unfortunately for you ruffian players that listen to us, you cannot take 6 bajillion ruffians to this event, as much as it would be cool.
It would be cool. Dominic would love to take loads of ruffians. Shout out to Dominic.
I guess another thing to mention another thing to mention is that the games are effectively 2 hours and 40 minutes. So very long games, lots of time to think and, outskill your opponent.
And there's also a deployment time as well. Is that part of the 2 hours 40 that you said, or is that an additional?
Yeah, so you get 10 minutes to deploy specifically, and then the games are 2 hours, 2.5. But effectively, you've got 2 hours and 40 minutes to play. the
Yeah, it's
entire
very.
game.
Now, the before we get onto the two special rules for the event, it's probably worth noting that they've added in sort of something new to the event this year, which wasn't the case last year, and it's that only legendary legions and pure armies are allowed at the event. So last year, legendary legions were banned, and it was only pure green, yellow, and red alliances that you could take. But now they've included legendary legions, but they've taken away all sorts of alliances. So no green, yellow, or red. So
this is almost a targeted ban on the Witch King Saladin combination.
They are trying to bring you down, Ashley.
They're specifically targeting the meta. So thanks for that, Ed. Also, you're not allowed to take an Iron Hills Chariot, which definitely was there last year because I remember seeing one.
Oh yes, there was.
And
yes,
the Azog Signal Tower, which I've never seen it in. I have never seen at an event. And if anybody has, I would like to read a comment below of where you've seen the Signal Tower and how much carnage it's actually caused.
I have totally seen a Signal Tower. There was a lovely one at Dewey's event last weekend. A really cool 3D printed one, really tall, big. It wasn't someone who actually took it to the event, but it was just a piece of terrain on a.
Oh, okay. No,
really,
I mean, I want to see.
Yeah, on the.
I want to hear somebody who's played against it or took it to an event and said, "This is the carnage it caused," on the tabletop.
I wonder how much carnage it would cause, whether it would actually cause any. That's the question. Yeah. So
I think more importantly, though.
Yeah, go on, Ash.
Finally, before we go into the two special rules, England are playing tonight against the Netherlands in the semi-final. I want to hear a radical prediction for the score, so that when this video goes live, people can see how wrong we were.
We're gonna win 4-0.
4-0.
That's my prediction.
We are going to take it again on penalties. It's going to end 2-2 after extra time, and England are going to do the unthinkable and win 2 penalty shootouts in a row.
Okay, we will come back.
We'll see if we're right.
We'll come back to the prediction. So remember the piece of information that we just gave about it only being legendary legions and pure armies as we go into these special rules. So the first one to start off with is called Steadfast Determination. Now, this was featured at last year's event and the one before, as I've been to the last two. And the rule is that whenever your general is targeted by an enemy magical power, they may, after all other attempts to resist the magical power have been completed and failed, roll a d6. On the roll of a 6, the magical power has no effect. Might may not be spent to modify this roll. Also, if your general is successful in making that roll, that model cannot be targeted by any enemy magical powers for the rest of the turn. So at 1,000 points, obviously magic, you can fit in a lot of magic potentially. It's much more prevalent. So they've sort of put this rule in there to stop people like Ashley, I guess, really ruining people's days.
Taking quadruple wraith and just transfixing people to death. Because that's what fun's about, you see. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we did do a Unnumbered Tiers preview on the channel already, haven't we?
I actually just thought earlier.
Last year.
No, we didn't, because we couldn't have one of the TOs on. But no, I think we did. I think we had Jamie on for that one. That's probably why it was erased from our memories.
We
had Jamie on.
Let's have Jamie Wiggins back on the podcast. Yeah, it was Jamie. That's brilliant. I've just got out.
We did. Yeah.
8 months ago, episode 25.
Yeah.
Because I want to find Jay's list and, just to shout him out once again to the viewers of how much of a goat he is.
Yes. I reckon we get into.
I remember talking last time about.
Yes, about the role. Yes, and I reckon we get into the next rule and then talk about what's good at 1,000 points, and then we'll talk about Jay's list because it ties nicely into that conversation.
Sure, whatever your heart desires.
For now. But Jay did do very well at the event last year. So any other thoughts though about the rule as someone that uses a lot of magic? Does it make you think twice?
So last time I went, nobody rolled that magical 6 against me, I'm pretty sure. And then not allow me to target them with magical powers, because that's really the kicker, right? You can't cast a compel with your Witch King or with your Saruman or with your Gandalf, and they instantly roll that 6. It's like, oh, now my other casters can't do anything to this Dane or
whatever it is.
Aragorn, and all of a sudden you're in big doo-doo.
Yeah.
But if you think of it across the course of a tournament, if you're playing Magic, they're going to do it once or twice.
Yeah.
And
if
it just depends.
Yeah.
If that, it just depends if it falls on your first spell or your last spell, whether or not it, is
it's
really impactful.
Yes, for sure.
And potentially, with the war gear that we're going to get onto, it could be, I don't know, it could be more effective, more important because of how you can buff your magical powers with some of the war gear.
So it could come into play more. Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yes.
Let's hear about the war gear.
The second special rule for this event, and by far the spiciest, is called the Rings of Power. So,
so beast.
If the army that you select is not a Legendary Legion, then after your army selection is complete, you may add the following equipment to any of the heroes in your list for free, though no named item may appear in your list more than once. So the key part there at the start is that this only applies if your list isn't a Legendary Legion. So although they have allowed Legendary Legions this year compared to last year, they essentially rule out Legendary Legions by the fact that you're not going to get this special rule if you take one. So that essentially means all the lists are going to be pure lists at the event. So there's basically a big list of all kinds of different war gear in the event pack. I'll leave the link to the pack in the description if you want to take a look, as there are 48 different options to choose from. So these are pieces of war gear from heroes' profiles all throughout the game. But you can add any 2 pieces of war gear from this list to your army, which is pretty crazy considering some of the choices that are on there. People are going to think of some pretty busted stuff. So
this is insane. And we're not going to be able to think about all the possible lemon combinations between the 2 of us, because there's so many that you could possibly take. And that's one of the exciting things with this event, is the fact that there's going to be so many different types of lists. Just for one example, if you were to take, say, the Necromancer and then give him the Arkenstone, your level of fate has just become insane. And that's just one example of what you can do.
Of what's on there. So I thought I would just run through sort of what we have, a few of the highlights, the ones that we think are sort of the best, maybe sort of options on there. There are loads, like I said, there's 48. But on a surface level, what are the ones that seem the best, right? So Ash mentioned the Arkenstone, which you can see from Thrall, which is a very solid option. You can also take things like the One Ring. You can take Narsil from Elendil, which gives you the +1 to wound and the free heroic combat. You could take
Elven Blade.
And Elven Narsil isn't Elven made. Anduil is Elven made. Anduil is Elven made. You can take Anduil as well from to wound everything on 4s. You could take the Circlet of Kings from Thranduil for the Nature's Wrath and the Aura of Dismay. You could take the Light of Aarendil from Galadriel, Lady of Light, which gives you Blinding Light. You could take the Helm of the Dragon Emperor, which gives you resistance to magic. You could take a Staff of Power, which gives you a 3 point of will each turn. And finally, you could take the Crown of Morgul, which needs no introduction.
The single best piece of war gear in the game.
And Ashley is obviously very upset that other people will actually get to use his beloved Crown.
I'm not upset. I'm actually really excited that everyone will get to be and have as much fun as I do every event
in their games.
It's great. We're broadening the horizons for people.
So this is the level of, so you could take any 2 things from that list. Those are arguably some of the best pieces of war gear in the game, and you can add any 2 of them to any heroes in your list. So pretty busted. But although if you think, say, oh, I could run a Last Alliance list and I have Elendil with a free combat and I could give, I don't know, Gil-galad the free combat as well. Well, you can't do that
Yeah.
because that's first of all a green alliance, so no Last Alliance because you would have to take either pure Numenor or pure Rivendell, but then you couldn't take Narsil a second time as well. So there are some restrictions, but if none of the pieces of war gear are in your faction's list, then you can just take any two of them, chuck them in, and there's some pretty powerful combinations. So any initial
So I think,
thoughts? Go on, Ash.
yeah, let's just quickly. We don't want to go through all of them, because I'm sure the viewers want to get to the giveaway. But the ones that instantly spring to mind are, for example, you give the Witch King, who already has a crown, a staff of power, so that he can then have a free will
Great.
point every turn
Yep.
to cast spells, and then he gets the reroll. That's pretty juicy.
Yep.
You could also give somebody like Gandalf the White the Crown of Morgul to boost him up to those three attacks. Give him that re-rolling to cast, which then actually makes him a super killy hero because he's got, the three fate and the strength 5 on the charge and all these other combat elements. He then goes up to three attacks and he gets there's an Elven Blade. Then you get the re-rolls for casting and stuff.
Just to touch on the Minas Tirith thing there. So, I mean, Gandalf. So we've always talked on like other episodes of the Pollen stuff, like how to make Gandalf good. And if you give him the crown, for example, I think we might have even talked about that specific point on the channel.
Yeah.
But
if
suddenly,
he actually becomes good. He actually does become good.
So you can take Gandalf, but then he buffs your army and your heroes. So now you have Blinding Light, Fortify Spirit for all your other heroes, which at 1,000 points is obviously really, really good with the amount of magics there. So Blinding Light, Fortify Spirit, Fortress Blast, 12-inch moving caster, all casting pretty damn reliably and is a good combat threat. Sure, it's a lot of points, but Gandalf the White suddenly becomes pretty crazy at 1,000 points.
Yeah, I think the thing that we've spoke about, which is really fun, would be giving Gandalf the White the Crown of Morgul and then giving Boromir of the White Tower.
Yes.
The
free combat and the +1 to wound.
The free combat and the +1 to wound, and then you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Then he's got Fortified Spirit from Gandalf. Then you've got 5/5 D7 line with the Guard of the Fountain Court.
Yeah.
That's probably something we haven't actually touched upon yet. Is the meta at 1,000 points just in general?
Yes.
And last year, J1 with good, and almost all the top players were running good lists because you can finally get all the best heroes that synergize very nicely with each other. But J1 last year with Galadriel, Boromir, the White Tower with Banner, Guahir, Legolas, some Fight 6 Elves, a Sentinel, and 15 Guard of the Fountain Court. So
it's pretty.
E7 Bodyguard, you've got all the support pieces, you've got Magic with Galadriel, you've got Boromir, super killing, you've got the Flying Bird of Doom and Guahir, and then you've got Legolas to snipe stuff. So that combination of things is what's good at 1,000 points because they won the event with it last year. You can't now combine those sort of factions due to the only being able to take a pure list, but you've got these different options with different pieces of war gear. Shout out to our man James Gopal. He was saying a combination that he thought was pretty nasty was giving a hero the Shield of Cirith Ungol and the One Ring, which means when you're going invisible through people's lines, when you charge them, they're then knocked over as well as having a half fight value. So, for example, if you gave that to Elendil, all of a sudden he's instantly murdering anything he touches with the One Ring on. And I'm just really excited to see what people choose. And the fact that you can take two pieces of war gear allows these combinations to, be a lot more cursed.
Yeah.
And I just think it's going to be really fun.
I think it is. Just to touch on the thing there with the ring, because I think so every list now essentially has access to the ring. So I mean, you could give it to Elendil, who say has a free heroic combat already, but and obviously you give him the shield as well, and now he's much more reliable to kill when he does charge against troops. But you can essentially give any hero the ring and a free heroic combat, a +1 to wound if you wanted to. And that's where I think, obviously, it would be on Elendil. But if you were to give, say, I don't know, just on foot fight 6 hero, for example, Narsil,
Ratabi.
Yeah, Ratabi, for example. Now, because when you have the ring, you need to save your might for the ring checks. But as you can free combat, you don't have to spend your might on combats ever. So you can keep moving with the ring, because if you start using your might on ring checks, you don't have it to combat. Now suddenly you can get quite stuck, which is what I found from using Isildur a fair amount recently. But if now you're getting free combats, you're not being held down in one place, you're always moving. So the combination of the two, the free combat with the ring,
it's also going to be
crazy.
You're kind of pushed in two directions, right? You want to take the ring because it's really good, but then you'd expect to see a lot better wraiths because, for example, you can give a ring wraith a staff of power and also have the Witch King. So your casting potential with the wraiths gets a lot better, which is obviously the ring's, one weakness.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, with the steadfast determination rule, are you less inclined to take magic because of, every single time you cast a spell, you have the risk of
onto the
rolling that spell.
Onto the leader, that is.
Yeah, I guess it's just on the leader. But potentially you could make your leader, especially now that contest is in, you could make your leader somebody as a support piece and then give your super killing hero all of the additional war gear to make them really good. So that's not a bad point.
Yeah. I think something else to touch on is that generally, because like we said, at 1,000 points, it's usually good lists which are on the top tables. It's usually high fight lists. Not much Dragon Emperor out. Last year there was no Legendary Legions, and again there probably isn't going to be many this year either. So it's high.
I doubt anyone's going to take a Legendary Legion over the fun of getting all these different pieces of war gear.
I don't think so. So,
but good is only good at 1,000 points because of the way you can ally it. So we'll see with the pure factions.
Yes.
How it actually does pan out.
Yes. I mean, you would be someone to kind of touch on this. So my perspective, kind of looking at something like Mordor, for example, say you were to give Shagrat a free heroic combat and Narsil, for example. Narsil, which gives you the +1 and the free heroic combat. He's a 5/5 hero. And obviously you've used Mordor with 5/5 heroes a lot. And if you're running into higher fight hero troops, lists with high fight troops, is that an issue? Because usually you go in and strike, right? But then you're not getting the free combat. So I wonder whether you're going to see many armies, as many armies that only have access to 5/5 heroes, because they might run into a lot of high fight troops that could be an issue for them.
Fight 5 is definitely a lot more prevalent at higher points because you have access to those more elite troops.
And fight 6,
fight 5 heroes and fight 6, which is even worse, do tend they just serve a different role. So Shagrat isn't that hero that's going to just go in and kill troops.
That's it.
1,000 points. He's going to be the hero that when you compel a model, it's going to get murdered because Shagrat has got the shield and has got the knockdown and can kill it. So it's just a sort of different pool in your list. It's going to be a balance between the high fight armies are only strength 3. And the lower fight armies can get to strength 4. So it's going to be a balance of, can you roll high to kill or do you win more fights? Because you obviously can't ally in 6-inch banners in this tournament. So
I
don't know.
I guess also with having like contest not in the pool for scenarios, something like Loth, which has access to the magic, the high fight troops, and you're not worried about Galadriel having to be the leader for contest. So something like Loth could be seriously good. It was last year, and obviously as a pure list, it is just really, really strong.
It's good already as a pure list. So this is something that Sam and James are talking about, right? Is that they think Loth is going to be the biggest and most likely to win faction because as you said, you've already got the fight 6, you've already got the magic, you've already got the sentinels. On top of that, Loth's one sort of weakness is killing power, but now you can give it a Celeborn with a free heroic combat and +1 to wound, and all of a sudden that's really good. You could even go the other way and give Celeborn a staff of power so he can then actually cast reliably every turn. Then go ahead and give Orphan, a free heroic combat with +1 to wound, who's got the 3 attacks, and you're kind of thinking, oh dear, that
Oh
whole
no.
list has resistance to magic. Then your general
Yes.
also gets the steadfast determination. Actually, the more I'm talking about this, the more I think Loth.
Loth seems pretty
I might get
busted
my Loth models back and,
with
and
what you
start to
can.
take it.
Yeah, with what you can give it. Yeah. So Loth, I mean, seems like a pretty safe option to be on the top tables. A couple of
Definitely.
other factions I wanted to sort of touch on briefly. So something like Erebor Reclaimed, I think Ali was saying in our chat. So obviously dwarves are really, really solid all around, right? Iron Hills, fight for D7, you're going to grind well. But now the biggest issue with Thorin sometimes with the free heroic combat is that sometimes at just strength 4, he can struggle to kill.
You need 5s to kill anything strength. Defense 6, sorry. So realistically, you're only killing one of the 2 guys if you're not knocking them over.
Yeah. So you could give him, say, Anduil. He's wounding everything on 4s. And he gets the free heroic combat still. And then you take Dane, maybe, and you give him Narsil. So he has +1 to wound and a free heroic combat. So now you have 2 fight 6.
He already has +1 to wound.
Heroes. So, you know, that could be, obviously it solves Thorin's biggest weakness. You know, with the free combat where he can't kill troops.
This might be a stupid question, but if you were to give Dane Andril, that then gives you another +1 to wound. Are they cumulative, or is it just the +1? Or would you get the +1 from Dane and the +1 from?
I think it's about, so if it's the weapon, because you can only use one weapon, right? So it's, if it was just a rule in your profile that you get +1 to wound, then you also add a piece of war gear that gives you that. I think that
okay.
But if it's 2 separate pieces of war gear, you can use one, like sword, right? Or
at one time. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's inherent in your profile that you get the +1 to wound, then you could get to the +2, but if it's not, you can't. Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah. And then finally, is like Rivendell. So I've been looking at Rivendell as potentially sort of taking it. I mean, so you
got to take Elrond, surely.
You could take. I would love to Elrond. You could give him resistance to magic, and now give
him free heroic combat.
Well, no, you would give Glorfindel the free heroic combat and +1 to wound, because he wouldn't be your leader. So he's the fight 7 guy being thrown in there with Fortify Spirit, +1 free heroic combat. He's going to munch through basically everything.
That is terrifying.
And then you could,
with the
and then you could give your leader. So, because obviously Glorfindel's only Valor, you could give your leader, which would be Gil-galad or Elrond, resistant to magic. So now at 1,000 points, they're not looking so vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Yeah.
So I'm looking at Rivendell potentially as well. So any final thoughts from you on sort of factions, war gear, anything like that?
No, I'm just very excited to see what the community comes up with for this event, and I just like that it's something new. It's the same as when we went to Ali's City of Steel.
Yeah,
it's such a new, interesting concept that makes the game fresh, and it makes you want to go to this tournament because it's almost not playing a new game, but you're playing almost like a DLC version of SBG because you've got these extra rules to take.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's good that TOs are sort of doing this in this period of the game where there hasn't been any actual updates,
like sort of
new things added in, to kind of keep it fresh. Obviously, there is things now coming. It seems it's going to be a new supplement, but in the meantime, I think it's most likely why the league is kind of approving these kinds of events that are a bit different, like alleys and stuff, just because
it's good that they're getting approved, and they're. I still like the fact that this is a GH 100 points, even though the rules have been changed. It's kind of like, personally, I think it's fun, and it's not too dissimilar because it's still the fundamental mechanics of the game are still the same. You just get to enhance certain elements.
I used to be
that are already in there.
Yeah, I used to be very much on the other side of the fence, but in sort of the last year or so, I think what you gain from hosting these kinds of events is more beneficial for the league and everyone involved than the drawbacks from just having the tournament be a little bit different. It's probably not the biggest deal. Okay, so now that we've discussed the event,
jump into the giveaway.
Yes, we've discussed the event and hopefully piqued your interest. Let's get into how you can actually win yourself a ticket to attend the tournament. So, first of all, we would obviously ask that you do only enter the giveaway if you can actually attend the 2-day event on the 19th and 20th.
So we actually haven't said where the event is, so we need to do that.
I did say where the event was. I said at the start,
Oh, okay.
it's
I wasn't listening.
but
Let's
just to
say it
clarify,
again for my
it's in
purposes.
yes, it's in Sutton in Ashfield, which is kind of in between Nottingham and Sheffield. So I will put the link to the rules pack, like I said earlier, in the description. So all the information on the
And
venue
when is it?
and everything is there. It is on the 19th and 20th of October. So check your calendar. Make sure you can, actually attend, before
Yeah.
entering. Yeah, so that is the first thing. But if you can attend and would like a chance to obviously win the ticket, there are just two simple things that you have to do to enter. The first is to be subscribed to us here on the Gollum's Gamers YouTube channel. That's the first thing. And the second thing is to leave a comment below on this video with what you would be interested in taking to the event if you were the winner. So which pure faction you think would be good, or why you might take a Legendary Legion if you have a strong argument for that, and
Yeah. That
war
would be really
gear.
interesting to hear.
Yeah, whether
Because
Emperor's
I
going to
don't think
be
you
so
can
good.
make an argument.
No, but if you can. So yeah, which pure faction you would take, and which war gear you might select for your list, all that sort of thing. What would you take if you were to win the ticket? So that's it. Those are the two simple steps. Just make sure you're subscribed to us here on YouTube and leave a comment on this video. So any Spotify listeners will have to head over to YouTube in order to enter.
How are we selecting the winner? Is it going to be random?
Yes. So we'll be randomly selecting the winner from the comment section at 8 p.m. on Wednesday evening next week, which is the 17th of July. We'll then reply to the winner's comment on this video so that we can then get in touch with you from there, essentially. So make sure to check your YouTube notifications after 8 p.m. on Wednesday, the 17th of July to see if you have won.
It's going to be announced on one of our famous Lord of the Spins spinner. So we'll have all the people that have commented in the spinner, randomize the spin. I'm assuming you're going to record it, and we'll be congratulations, X person has won,
Yeah.
and then
that is going to be put up on our Instagram. So it will be up on our Instagram story on the evening of Wednesday, the 17th after 8 p.m. So you can check out our Instagram if you did want to see the spinner. And as I mentioned at the start, Any Heroics are also doing a giveaway for this event on their channel. So make sure to follow the link in the description to watch their video. But
go check them out.
Once again, big props to event TOs Ed Ball and Owen Wright for allowing us to give away this ticket to viewers. I may sound a little bit biased because I do generally prefer high point events, but Unnumbered Tiers is easily one of my favorite events. Having gone the last 2 years, they do run a fantastic event, and I'm definitely really looking forward to going again this year with these rules and the pack and everything. But any final thoughts from yourself, Ashley, before we close this one out?
The only thing I can say is we look forward to seeing you all there because it's going to be a fun event and almost, I think, maybe apart from Adam, who is in new lands.
Indeed.
Most of us
should be there.
Yeah. And we'll look forward to seeing what you guys come up with.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, I think that's going to do it. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching another episode from the Gollum's Gamers.